Hello everyone, we are Team 3 and today we will be presenting the case on TOMS. This is a quick overview of our presentation's agenda just to show the main points we will be talking about today. Starting off with the introduction and the overview of the TOMS case. TOMS was founded in 2006 by Blake Mycoskie after he witnessed extreme poverty while traveling in Argentina. After observing that many children lacked proper footwear, he created the one-for-one model, where every pair of shoes purchased resulted in a pair being donated to someone in need. This model quickly differentiated TOMS in the marketplace because it embedded social responsibility directly into customer purchasing behavior. Consumers were not just buying shoes, they were participating in a social mission. Early media exposure and celebrity endorsements accelerated the company's growth, positioning TOMS as a leader in cause-related marketing and social responsible branding. However, as the marketplace evolved, criticism began to surface regarding the long-term sustainability and effectiveness of the one-for-one model. Concerns were raised about whether product donations created dependency or disrupted local economies. At the same time, increased competition and limited product innovation created additional strategic pressure. In response, TOMS began shifting away from its original donation structure towards a more flexible and impact-driven corporate social responsibility strategy. This case analyzes that transition, evaluating the ethical considerations, competitive challenges, and strategic decisions shaping TOMS' repositioning in a changing market environment. Situational analysis. This SWOT analysis evaluates TOMS' current strategic position as it transitions away from the one-for-one model. Starting with strengths, TOMS has built strong brand recognition around social responsibility. Its clear mission-driven identity created emotional connections with consumers and helped develop a loyal, socially conscious customer base. These factors contributed significantly to long-term brand equity. However, the company's weaknesses revealed internal constraints. TOMS became highly dependent on the one-for-one model as its primary source of differentiation, which limited strategic flexibility. In addition, limited footwear innovation reduced competitive momentum, while the built-in donation structure increased operational costs and pressured profitability. Externally, there are meaningful opportunities. Customers are increasingly demanding transparency and measurable impact, creating space for TOMS to shift towards empowerment-based CSR initiatives. Strategic partnerships with NGOs and local communities could strengthen credibility and modernize the brand's social impact approach. At the same time, threats must be carefully managed. Critics argue that product donation models may unintentionally disrupt local economies, and growing skepticism towards cause marketing could weaken customer trust. Additionally, transitioning away from the one-on-one model introduces the risk of brand confusion if not communicated effectively.
Assumptions and missing information. We identified several key assumptions that shaped our analysis of TOMS' situation. First of all, we assumed that TOMS' target market, primarily made of millennials and Gen Z, continues to maintain a generally positive perception of the brand. Historically, TOMS has built strong brand equity by embedding philanthropy into its identity. Younger consumers, particularly those who prioritize ethical purchasing and sustainability, were naturally drawn to that model. However, this positive perception is not guaranteed. It is dependent on continued alignment between TOMS' mission and its actions. Secondly, we assume that today's consumers expect measurable social impact, unlike earlier phases of cause marketing where emotional storytelling was often enough. Current consumer behavior research suggests that Gen Z in particular evaluates social responsibility claims critically. This means philanthropic messaging alone is no longer sufficient to maintain credibility. Third, we assume that the original one-for-one model contributes to financial strain due to its per-unit donation structure. By tying a donation to every product sold, TOMS embedded a variable cost into each transaction. While this was manageable during the period of rapid growth, the structure became more and more restrictive as sales stabilized and competition increased. The model limited pricing flexibility and compressed margins, which affected long-term financial sustainability. Finally, we assume that removing or minimizing mission communication may create perceptions of inauthenticity. Because TOMS has built a brand on strong social promise, any shift away from that mission risks confusing consumers. For a company whose differentiation is rooted in purpose, reducing mission visibility can be interpreted as performative. Overall, these assumptions frame the strategic tensions TOMS face, maintaining authenticity and social credibility while adapting its business model to remain financially viable. To fully evaluate TOMS' strategic position, there are several critical pieces of missing information that would strengthen decision making. First, we don't have a detailed breakdown of per unit donation costs under the original one-for-one model. Without knowing the exact financial impact on margins, it's difficult to fully assess how much the model contributed to TOMS' long-term strain. Second, we lack a direct comparison between profitability under the original model and the revised percentage of profits given structure. That comparison would help determine whether the new model truly improves financial sustainability. Third, we don't have an updated consumer perception data following the company's decision to de-emphasize its mission messaging. Since TOMS built its brand on social impact, understanding how this shift affects trust and loyalty, especially among Gen Z and millennials, is critical. Finally, while the case provides a number of products donated, it offers limited measurable long-term impact outcomes. Without data showing sustained improvements in communities, it becomes hard to defend the effectiveness of the original model. Overall, without this information, decisions rely more on assumptions than measurable performance data, which increases the risk it already faces in a competitive market. Statement of the problem. TOMS faces a strategic sustainability challenge rooted in the evolution of its one-for-one business model. TOMS's core challenge today is not brand awareness, it's sustainability of the original business model. TOMS's one-for-one model not only helped the brand stand out to create early growth, but it also gave the brand a unique identity and consumers felt directly involved through their purchases. As the company matured, the structure that once fueled growth became restrictive. Every sale carried an embedded donation cost, which minimized margins. Additionally, questions surrounding the measurable outcomes arose as consumers now expect evidence of sustained changes. So the core question becomes, how can TOMS preserve its socially responsible identity while adapting its model to remain financially competitive and strategically sustainable?
Development and evaluation of alternatives.
Alternative 1 allows us to keep the one-for-one model to maintain brand trust and loyalty, but it risks harming the local economy and appearing socially insensitive. Alternative 2 donates a fixed percentage of profits instead of products, allowing more flexibility and sustainable community impact, though it may weaken emotional ties to the original mission. And Alternative 3 repositions around sustainability and eco-friendly production to align with the millennial and Gen Z values, but this again would increase costs and not fully resolve concerns about past donation effectiveness.
To go into detail about Alternative 1, it maintains the status quo. Alternative 1 works to reassure existing customers that TOMS is staying with its original mission and works to build trust for new consumers who may be reluctant. This alternative has negative economic results as it has proven to be a loss of resources for the company, and it also pushes a model that has received unfavorable critiques and may give the public the impression that TOMS is insensitive to the effects on the local economy. The cost and revenue estimate for Alternative 1 is as follows. For every pair sold, the production cost of the customer pair is $15, and the production cost of the donated pair is $8. They're made with different materials, so they have different costs. The logistics and distribution for the customer pair is $5, and the logistics and distribution for the donated pair is $6. The marketing and overhead is $10. Adding these together, we have a $44 total cost per sale. The revenue estimate, you have the retail price per pair, which is $50, which leaves us with a profit per pair of $6. Assuming 5 million pairs are sold, the revenue is $250 million. The costs are $220 million, leaving us with an operating profit of $30 million. To dive deeper into Alternative 2, TOMS must adjust the existing business model to donate a fixed percentage of profits instead of products. The example I have for you here is replacing donating shoes with donating money to charities. This allows TOMS to support local communities without doubling manufacturing, as in making 2 pairs of shoes per purchase. It also provides the opportunity to allocate donations to different causes that may benefit communities in need more. However, this alternative may create a disconnect between TOMS and its target market during the adjustment period, as it is a drastic change from the one-for-one model. The cost and revenue estimate for Alternative 2 is as follows. For every pair sold, the production cost of the customer pair is $15. The logistics and distribution is $5. The marketing and overhead is $10. The estimated total cost per sale is $30. For revenue estimates, the retail price per pair is $70. The base profit per pair is $40. Next, we factor in our donation commitment of 25% of the profit per pair, leaving us with a $10 per pair donation, with a final profit per pair of $30. Assuming 5 million pairs are sold, the revenue is $350 million, the costs are $150 million, the donations are $50 million, and the operating profit is $150 million. Alternative 3 repositions TOMS' market perception to that of sustainable production practices in opposition to the one-for-one model. This alternative emphasizes the use of recycled and biodegradable materials and promotes the reduction of its carbon footprint in manufacturing. For this alternative, TOMS will need to publish environmental performance reports to align with eco-conscious consumers like millennials and Gen Z. It allows TOMS to integrate sustainable measures throughout the entire production process, focusing more on the supply chain of the post-sales donations. TOMS will have to make heavy initial investments to support the new model, and some costs are likely to be passed on to the consumer due to the higher cost per unit. The cost and revenue estimate for Alternative 3 is as follows. For every pair sold, the production cost of the customer pair is $30. The logistics and distribution is $8. The marketing and overhead is $15. The estimated total cost per sale is $53. For revenue estimates, the retail price per pair will be $80, and the profit per pair will be $27. Assuming 5 million pairs are sold, the revenue will be $400 million, the cost will be $265 million, and the operating profit will be $135 million. Lastly, here is a table illustrating the cost and revenue comparisons between each alternative with key trade-offs. As you can see with Alternative 1, the one-for-one model, the brand stays strong with its original mission, but it is difficult to maintain operations. With Alternative 2, the fixed percentage of profits donation model, TOMS will receive a higher profit, but consumers must adjust to the new model for how their money is being used. Lastly, with Alternative 3, the brand will be positioned as a premium product, but will have to undergo a transition period of convincing consumers of its new brand perception.
Recommendations. After evaluating the alternatives, we recommend that TOMS transitions fully to a profit-based community investment model. Under this structure, TOMS would replace the current per unit product donation with a fixed percentage of annual profits dedicated to community-led initiatives. This approach decouples donations from individual sales transactions and instead aligns impact with overall company performance. There are several reasons that this alternative is strategically the strongest. First of all, it improves financial predictability for the company. The original one-for-one model embedded a variable donation cost into every sale, compressing its margins and limiting its pricing flexibility. By shifting to a profit-based model, TOMS can better predict expenses and protect its financial stability during slower growth periods. Second, this approach addresses social impact criticisms. While product donations have good intentions, TOMS has faced scrutiny regarding long-term economic development and dependency concerns. A community investment allows TOMS to fund locally led programs that produce more sustainable and measurable outcomes. Finally, it preserves mission alignment rather than abandoning philanthropy. This model evolves it. TOMS maintains its identity as a purpose-driven company while modernizing the structure of its giving to accommodate to current struggles. To successfully implement this alternative, TOMS would need to reframe its mission around a measurable impact rather than donation quantity, strengthening partnerships with locally rooted organizations, and provide structured transparency through impact reporting. These steps ensure that the strategy aligns with evolving consumers' expectations for accountability and authenticity. Overall, this alternative best balances financial sustainability, competitive positioning, and long-term social impact, making it the strongest strategic path moving forward.
Now we'll move into implementation of Alternative 2. To start us off with implementation on 1/1/2027, there will be an announcement across TOMS social media accounts and website for upcoming change to the altruistic company community investment model, capitalizing on the New Year, New Me trend of the January season. This will allow TOMS followers to anticipate a positive change and time to process from the long-standing perception of the one-for-one model. Next, on 1/4/2027, there will be rollout for press articles and social media posts illustrating the change from the one-for-one model to a fixed percentage of annual profits with full transparency as to how the decision was made. The goal here is to help fans understand the reasoning behind the decision and emphasize that this will help more people around the world compared to the existing model, because the donations will allow for existing charity organizations to better allocate the funds to supplies that people in underdeveloped countries need most. Additionally, this will ease the concerns and criticism about TOMS generating dependency by allowing the organizations TOMS is paired with to make decisions alongside the communities in need. By giving the recipients more autonomy over investments, TOMS can encourage the communities to grow independently of its donations. Next, on 1/11/2027, it is time to announce the increased investment in long-term community-led initiatives. We plan to allow fans to submit organization suggestions for employees to investigate and participate in. Next, we generate buzz online when stating which initiatives TOMS will adopt into its program. Because TOMS has pre-existing connections with organizations and communities worldwide, it will maintain most of those partnerships going forward. But we suggest that TOMS anticipates changes with who and how it works with these charities. By encouraging communities to organize and submit initiatives, TOMS can better allocate resources to initiatives that will last and allow communities to prosper. Next, starting 6/01/2027, it will be time to increase transparency with the figures that we've received from previous steps. We will want to provide a section on the website that illustrates how much money is received, distributed, and put to work. This is a vital piece of our implementation plan, as we want TOMS to maintain a sense of transparency with its fans, consumers, and recipients of funds. The more that people understand the new model, the better the response will be. Fans of TOMS are likely unaware of the financial impact of the one-for-one model, especially during slower growth periods, so it is our duty as marketers to make the information easily digestible and accessible to followers. Lastly, on 8017, due to the labor-intensive nature of annual impact reports, we suggest that TOMS assign these tasks to permanent employees working alongside interns brought on in TOMS' existing internship program. This technique will allow for TOMS employees to oversee the project for accuracy and reliability while building up skills for interns. TOMS emphasizes the importance of connection between employees and its philanthropic mission, so giving interns the opportunity to work hands-on with the data and evaluate the impact themselves will work to increase its reputation amongst employees. Next, we will discuss evaluation and control. Because the community investment model campaign is taking place on social media and the TOMS website, monitoring impressions, engagement, and site visitation metrics such as how long users are on the website and what pages they visit will be crucial to understanding the impact of the campaign. We are looking to boost customer engagement by 30% by January 2028 and to increase sales by 10%. To evaluate our impact report, we want to measure clicks for headings on the report page to evaluate which areas are most frequently visited so TOMS can format future annual impact reports in order of customer concerns. And lastly, we want to assign oversight roles to permanent employees to monitor how investments towards community-led initiatives are used and evaluate whether it is best to stay with those charities. These managers will be measuring progress towards the goal of a 15% increase in children helped in partnered areas. Conclusion.
TOMS has had a journey in building a reputation for high levels of CSR. However, there's been issues in a few different ways. They mostly center around a lack of differentiation when other companies jumped onto the trend set. Additionally, the recipient communities' economies began to face some issues. TOMS was then seen as performative by their target demographics. That caused some issues with how authentic they seemed. We are suggesting to fix their issues, the issues TOMS is facing. The one-for-one model is not so strictly adhered to. Donating some fixed percentages while working with the local communities is the better choice. Through making these changes, the company can have annual impact reports to have near full transparency, as well as flexible changes to the charitable strategies they're wanting to do. If they can adjust their strategies quickly or easier, it allows them to not be seen as performative and communicate with their target demographic much more than they were before. Evaluation is obviously needed here for budget, but we do really think that TOMS can recover and do well if they listen.
Case questions. For our first question, what are strengths and weaknesses for TOMS in its strategy going forward? First, for strengths, we have improved financial predictability and reduced operational cost variability, meaning that TOMS can generate more accurate fiscal forecasts due to shifting to a formula-based business model where it can estimate the figures for profits going towards donations. The variability in operational costs will reduce as TOMS will no longer need to manufacture a fluctuating amount of customized shoes for shoe drops. Next, it reduces dependency criticism, meaning that TOMS will be able to prove to fans that it wants the communities it helps to become independent from its aid. The new strategy improves upon the original mission of helping children in impoverished countries to give them the opportunity of a better tomorrow, and it increases rewarding tasks for employees as they can spend more time connecting with the reason behind the work at TOMS. Regarding weaknesses, we need to address that it is a stark change from the one-for-one model. It will take both the company and consumers some time to adjust to a fixed percentage model, as this means employees will likely not be going on shoe drops anymore, and consumers may feel that their dollar does not go as far. It is also harder to prove positive impact compared to reporting the number of shoes donated. Numbers of products tend to be more tangible and exciting for consumers compared to reading fiscal figures of donations. And lastly, it does not create a new competitive advantage over other footwear companies. The one-for-one model was very loud and unique, whereas a fixed percentage model does not generate the same excitement. Question 2, how has TOMS positioned its products in a highly competitive market? First, TOMS has positioned itself based off of philanthropic core brand identity and story-driven marketing. Consumers connect with the stories of real people with real compassion, wanting to see the world become a better place for all. Next, the product lines cater to consumers that want to purchase ethical and practical lifestyle products. They expect TOMS to do the heavy lifting of the mental burden of ethical shopping by being able to trust that the products the brand executes are made within standards for fair trade and environmentally sustainable manufacturing practices. And lastly, TOMS product positioning is focused on comfortable and long-lasting shoes and eyewear, alongside its most recent addition of sustainable coffee. The shoes and eyewear are meant to be an enjoyable wearing experience from the first wear to the last, and consumers expect to own these products for a long time. Their coffee is positioned as positivity in every pour and is meant to be a convenient way for consumers to contribute to global clean water initiatives. And question number 3, given the adjustments to the TOMS business model, is the one-for-one movement business model appropriate for any other businesses? Judging from what we learned from the TOMS case, we feel that businesses that sell low-cost essential goods such as hygiene products or school supplies would do well with a one-for-one business model, especially because these product types complement the next point, that companies that can use economies of scale in manufacturing to buffer or absorb the cost of donations without impeding upon margins would do well with a one-for-one business model. Thank you for watching.